Hey, this is Ashita Kim. Now that you've got everything sorted out, let's get you to UNEG. So the quickest way there actually would be to remotely set your home station. This may or may not be available depending on when the last time you've done this is. The way to check is, just open up your Corp mail. You should have gotten a welcome Corp mail. You scroll down and you're going to see UNEG 6. Now, let me preface this. This is subject to change. This is our home as of this particular video recording. So check your Corp email and see what it says for Corp Home. I can right click and set home station. It'll say remotely move clone. Changing your clone to remote station is only permitted once every 365 days. So basically a year. So if you have not used this feature within the past year, this should be available to you. And you can just say, yes, I don't have 100,000 ISK, but assuming that you did, you say yes, and then you can go to your clone bay and self-destruct. When you self-destruct, you will respawn wherever you set your death clone, which should be home. In this case, I'm doing this with a new character. So you see, there's only 1,400,000 skill points, and basically 1 million of them are unallocated. By the way, if you don't have the funds, you can just ask in Corp Chat. I'm sure someone will wire you the ISK to make this easier on you. But in our case, we are going to manually trek to UNEG. We'll see if the hostiles and neutrals along the way cooperate with us, and if not, well, this should be interesting. So before we leave, I'm actually using ZS Overview. So if you don't know already, you can just open chat channel here, go to Z-S Overview. Once you join the channel, you'll have this channel right here, and you can just click on the core modules to install the standard profile. I find this to be a good base setup. You're going to want to tweak it as you go along to suit your personal tastes. And I'm going to use standard. Okay. So let's do this. So for right now, we're heading to the Veil of the Silent. So we want to join the Intel channel for Veil. In this case, it's WC Veil, just so we know what's going on. I highly recommend you separate local out to a separate window, just so you can quickly see what is going on. And I'm just gonna, all I need to see if there are blues, newts, or reds. So I'm just going to set this text only, and I'm going to make it nice and big here. And I'm going to separate out the Intel channel to a separate window as well. All right. We're going to set destination now. Alright, so from where I am, which is the Galente newbie system, this is 27 jumps with a Triglavian invasion in the middle. Let's see how this works out for us. Alright, so in the overview, the two main things you're going to be using is this travel tab and potentially the warp out tab. So this yellow Stargate icon is the next system on your autopilot route. We're just going to hit jump. So in high sec, you should be safe just to jump gate to gate. Now, ideally, if you had to do this trip manually, you should be using an interceptor that's travel fit with inertial stabilizers to get that align time down. So if you look in your fitting and go under navigation, you see the align time on this ship is very slow. It's 6.18 seconds. If you could get that down, you know, beneath 3 seconds, beneath even 2 seconds, it's much better, because that's less time that they have to lock onto you and kill you should you encounter a newt or a hostile along the way. You're going to be pretty safe in high sec. I mean, even if we're war decked, it's pretty unlikely that you're going to run into anyone along the way. The exception is if you're going from Jita or possibly any of the other major trade hubs, Hek, Amar, Dodixie, Renz. In that case, I would highly recommend that, well, it's a little bit late now, but I would have recommended that you get out of those major hubs before accepting the Corp invite. But it is what it is. So the great thing about interceptors is that you're immune to bubbles. So once we get into nullsec, we are liable to get hit a bubble. And what a bubble does is it'll suck you in and prevent you from warping until you burn out of the bubble. Interceptors are immune from that. Our Corvette here is most certainly not immune from that. So if we run into a bubble camp along the way, I'm not gonna lie, I'm sort of fucked. There are some ways to mitigate the risk, which I'm going to go through, but you know, you just have to accept a certain degree of risk when you're traveling through nullsec. So if you're doing the trip in a Tech 1 frigate, you're pretty much going to be going through the same experience that I'm going through right now, except you're going to be aligning faster, and you're possibly going to be, you know, have a micro warp drive or an afterburner to give yourself a bit of a better chance of burning out of any potential bubbles. So I guess the reason I'm doing this in a Corvette, aside from the fact that I don't want to transfer any ISK to this character just for this purpose, is if I can do this in a beginner ship, you should be able to do it. I would not recommend doing this in a battleship. So if you're like a high sec, you know, someone who's been running high sec missions, don't make this trip in your Dominics. We do have jump freighter service to help you carry stuff out here. But your actual travel should be done in a small, agile ship. Actually, you know, an even better solution might just be to sell everything that you own in high sec, or sell most of the stuff, the big stuff, so that you don't even have to jump freighter it out, and you can just buy what you need when you get to UNEG. So one thing I haven't actually checked is, okay, this is set to safer route. I guess that's a good thing. I don't know, if you're an interceptor, you might want to just go shortest. But in this case, since I'm not bubble immune, it is, the safer route's probably the best. So one thing I do want to mention about traveling in an interceptor is, even though you are immune to bubbles, that doesn't mean you're invincible. You can be smart bombed. You could be killed that way. So when you're in low sec and null sec, if you see neutrals, you know, see how we have blues, those are friendlies. Reds are obviously hostiles, but neutrals should be treated as hostiles as well, because you don't know their intentions. If you enter a system, a low sec system or a null sec system, and you see a neutral, you want to warp not gate to gate straight the way we're doing right now in high sec. You want to warp to a celestial. Celestials are planets, belts, basically other things. These are all available in your warp out tab in ZS overview. So best practice there is to warp to a Celestial and then warp to your next gate. Because most people that are camping or smart bombing to try to kill you are going to be in line with the gate. Because there's only one path from gate to gate, whereas there are many paths between Celestials and gates. So you increase your chance of evading the camp by bouncing to Celestial first. So another potential problem here is this trig invasion system. In most cases, you should be fine. Depending on the invasion, sometimes there is a camp and they will lock you and kill you very quickly. I don't think that's going to happen here, but we'll see. So ideally your comms should be on for this entire trip. I have my comms disabled just because people get loud sometimes. So as far as the intel channels, the way it works is you'll see right here, people post a system and they'll post who shows up in that system. A lot of times they'll post the ship that they're flying as well if they know. So you can take a quick look, so right now in HTAC E, we see there's this neutral guy. He's potentially explorer, he's potentially just a cloaky camper, he's in an NPC corp, so we're not really sure who he is. But it's generally good practice just to don't assume anything, because there are skill injectors in this game. So even if a character is a day old, they could be flying a prospect to Black Ops drop on you or something. Or they can be flying a saber to bubble you. So don't assume anything about anyone. As we make this trip, one thing I would like to point out is this is just one particular route from where I happen to be to our home. Depending on where you are, the route might change. So you might certainly have a different experience. If you have any difficulty getting from here to there, feel free to ask in Corp. Let's just say hi to everyone. So one thing I'd like to bring up right now is you notice that in Corporation, somebody, in this case Tashiro, he posted a standing fleet. So what a standing fleet is, it's a default fleet that you should be joining if you're in the region and not necessarily doing anything else that involves another specific fleet. So the standing fleet is essentially, it can be seen as a response fleet. So it's used to communicate with other people in that region so that you don't have to speak in local. And also, let's say you're ratting or doing something and a hostile pins you down or tackles you. The standing fleet exists to help you out of that situation. That's not a guarantee of safety ever. There's no guarantees of safety in EVE Online, but it highly increases your probability of surviving, assuming that you're in a ship that can tank whatever hostiles hopped on you for some amount of time. Obviously, if you're ratting and you have 50 hostiles suddenly on you, you're just not going to survive that. And if that's the case, unless there's a wormhole in the system, you probably did something wrong. Always check intel, but also remember that intel is not perfect. There are a lot of times when people pass through systems and people are in that system are doing whatever they're doing. They're not paying attention and they forget to they forget to report. So always keep an eye on this local tab. See who's in system with you. Always maintain situational awareness. As soon as you see a hostile enter system, if you're ratting, if you're not in a combat ship, or if you're simply not prepared to deal with a potential hostile, you need to be aligning right away. And the shortcut for aligning is A, plus you can click on something in your overview. Or you could just double click on something in your overview. That works too. So I'm just going to go ahead and join this standing fleet because I'm heading in that direction anyway. So one important thing to mention is that depending on the time of day you're making this trip, the difficulty will change. Obviously, some time zones are more active than others. Some time blocks are more active than others. If you die on the way, definitely try again. Maybe alter your route slightly. You know, speak up in Corp. We can try to problem solve. But depending on your situation, it might just be a case where you're going to have to try again at a different time. Alright, so the next system is a Triglavian invasion. Let's hope we don't get blapped while aligning out of the gate. Otherwise, I'm going to have to do this again, and I'm going to be a little sad, I'm not going to lie. Don't ask me again. Didn't I join this fleet? I thought I joined. Now here we go. Alright, so right now there is a Newt in system. I don't know where they are. He could be camping. He won't have a bubble up because it's a low-sec system, but he might be smart bombing. So I'm going to bounce to a Celestial. In this case, I think I clicked on a moon. From there, I'll move to the next station. So you have to realize this ship has a very slow align time. So if he's in an interceptor or something quick, even after I jump, he can catch me on the other side of the gate. Let's hope that doesn't happen in this case. But if it does, hey, that's Eve, right? Oh, he left. Not sure which way he left. So, important thing I should probably have noted in the beginning is if you hit Alt-D, you get your directional scanner. I'm gonna set this to descan ships defensive. And you can use your angle here to adjust your scan angle. And you can use your range here to adjust your scan distance. This is sort of important at this stage because we want as much intel as we can possibly get. All right, this system's empty. Let's just go gate to gate. Should be fine. It is possible that someone abandoned a bubble somewhere in between this gate and that, but unlikely. So if you want to scan a particular gate or celestial, set your angle to 5%, set your range all the way up, hold down V as in Victor, and click on the overview item. It'll look in that direction and it'll give you a scan of what's there. All right, so we have a hostile here. Very good. All right, so let's bounce the celestial. All right, so this next Stargate is very far from us. It's 77.6 AU. And our scan range is only 14.3. So from our current position, we're not going to be able to figure out if he's on the gate or not. So I'm just going to bounce to a hostile, bounce to a celestial. And let's jump. Now, if you want to be super safe, with Alt P, you could bring out your probe scanner. I obviously don't have probes. But you can take a look to see if there's anything within range of where you're heading as far as Celestial goes, and try to find a good point to scan from there. If you want to be extra safe, that's a good idea as well. In this case, I'm just sort of risking it because I have a kid sleeping. She might wake up at any point now, so. All right, nobody in system. Gate to gate, let's go. But yeah, that probe scanner is Alt P. That'll bring that up. And you can see the relative location of things. It's just a good way to reposition yourself. Nobody here. Next system. So I am looking at intel. I do see there was a ping for 1W TAC. Was somebody in there. I don't know if they're still in there now, but this is the next system that I'm heading to. So let's be cautious. All right. So there's only a friendly in here. He is in standing fleet with me. So I feel safe to move. You'll have to forgive the whole layout of everything. This is, like I said, this is a new character. I'm just setting this up for this video. Or I should say this series of videos. So things are not exactly how I would like them, but it is what it is. Ooh, look at that. I'm getting mastery at all these things just from traveling. I feel accomplished. Alright, so we're just a few jumps out now. We should be pretty safe. This is generally pretty safe territory. So unless there is a rather large enemy fleet in this particular area, this is not a region, or this is not a section of space where you're going to have one or two guys setting up a bubble. Or if they do, it would be taken care of pretty quickly in this particular area. Right, one jump away. Alright, so we're in friendly territory. Look at all these people here. It makes me so happy. It just warms my heart. So I know that the original destination was this Astra House, but since that Eve mail was last updated, our base is this Fortisaur right here. So it is called the Great Wall of El Trig, I believe. Yes. So that is where we're going to dock, and that is where we're going to set up our clone. So we've successfully made it to UNAG. Let's dock up and celebrate. Ah! Welcome home. Don't forget, once you're in here, hit your clone bay if you have not done this already. You're going to change station and set home station. I don't have money. Somebody give me money. That's courtmates helping courtmates out. Look at that. Look at that. Just sent me 100k. Alright, yeah, that was 100,000, right? Yeah, awesome. Alright, so that's the end of this video. If you have any issues, please feel free to ask in Corp. And we'll try to help you. We'll try to help you get out here, you know? And you can get out here, ship up, get into a ratting ship, start making ISK, or get into a mining ship and start mining stuff. Whatever you want to do. All right. Take care, guys. Fly safe.